game study now.
Okay. Okay. We have already agreed on taking a look at some of your games. That was the idea for this question. Which is something we haven't done in a while. I saw that you're much more tactically aware. I guess the woodpecker
You think?
had a lot of it. I mean, it's obviously been beneficial.
Wow, I'm
Yeah,
surprised.
you do get good positions, and yeah, you push the advantage home many times. Of course, it's not something that um, uh, I mean, it's not like you're not going to lose winning games, and it happens a lot. It happens to all of us, but you look like you're much more tactically aware than you were previously. In
Interesting.
fact, the vast majority of the mistakes I noticed, I think, were more of a positional nature, which was interesting. It used to be the other way around. um, but yeah, now on many occasions, I saw you let the advantage slip in many of your games, but it didn't have so much to do with calculations, I think. Uh, some were more like um, weaknesses in positional sense of the word, in the sense that you started mishandling the position, and the advantage gradually went off. Uh, But in general, tactically, I saw you much more solid than well, the last times we had our previous lessons.
Interesting.
So I wanted to focus on, yeah, it really surprised me. I have a small sample of games here so that we can go through hopefully all of them. But I think they kind of reflect of some of the problems that you have. Position speaking, well, many of them are related to the to Sicilian structures, and you play them with both colors, so you get them a lot, I guess. In the first two games, you had some trouble playing with and against the weakness on d5. Um, well, it's something that I guess appears a lot in your games. If you play the Najdorf, many people are going to play to occupy d5.
Yeah, I hope you're not going to look at that game I played yesterday. I think it was a. Was that?
There is one very recent game.
Okay.
It might be there.
Okay.
I don't remember if I put here the one that you played yesterday.
There was a. Well, I'm thinking of a. There was an Opusensky with a bishop e2 and a knight f5. I remember that.
Oh yeah, it's there.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
and I think that
I have to say something about that d5.
I think that one I did g takes f6, right? Instead of queen f6.
Is it the same game?
I'm not sure. It might be, but I was.
I think no. I think you took with the bishop, and then you played bishop g5, and then the bishop ended up on g6, and he had this monster light square bishop against, well, your bishop that is
Okay.
hitting nothing at all because it's on the wrong diagonal.
That guy might actually be watching the stream right now. I think that because that player, I played one of my viewers.
Oh,
And
your opponent.
I think
okay.
he may be watching the stream. If it's the same guy, so that'll be kind of funny.
Can start with that then. It's this second game, I think. Okay. Yeah, it was well, your usual Najdorf, and your opponent surprised you here. bishop b3,
Oh,
and
it
against
wasn't.
bishop e7, he played queen f3.
Yeah, yeah.
Is
This
this a game
no,
or?
no, this isn't the opponent. But yeah. So
Oh,
this. So sorry. Can we just look at it? I wasn't. It went a little quick. Can we just go through the opening again?
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So here we are in your usual lineup,
I
and
remember
your
this.
opponent plays bishop c4,
Yeah, yeah.
e6, castles, b5. All of this is, well, pretty standard up to this point. And bishop b3, you play bishop
Uh,
e7.
I remember this
Uh,
game. I remember this game. Yeah. Oh yeah. And I studied this after. So after Queen f3, because I in during the game, because yeah, I played this while streaming. I spent a long time because I know in the Sozin here, or also called the Fisher line with bishop c4. I know that the whole idea, I have to constantly watch sacks on e6. I know that, so I know that we can't play like bishop b7 right away because there's like bishop takes e6. So I'm always constantly aware of that. And then I knew that e5 is a threat. The double threat was e5. So I was trying to figure out a way. I did not want to play e5. I didn't want to play e5, and but I just couldn't figure a way to prevent both bishop takes e6 and e5. So I play e5 myself, which stops both those threats. But I hated the positional weakness of e5. Afterwards, when I researched it, I saw that the solution was very simple. We just moved the queen either to b6, c7, or even d7, with the sole purpose of being able to block his queen attack with bishop b7. So we basically defend b7 with the queen. And I looked for a long time with Stockfish. I ran it to depth 48 on Stockfish 12. Yeah, I don't fool around. I don't fool around with my opening prep. And I even went through the lines, and I narrowed it down to queen b6 in the future, or queen c7. I think queen b6 is the main line, with the idea of then going down to b7. But I thought that was slightly awkward, so I chose for the future against queen f3 here. I'm going to play queen c7. That's going to be my new move, queen c7, with the idea of bishop b7.
that's wise, because if you don't remember exactly if this is the position, I mean, queen c7 makes more sense. I mean, queen b6 is a rare move. It might work here, but maybe there are many positions where it doesn't. So yeah, queen c7, it's a tactical way of defending against e5, which appears a lot in the Sicilian, many Sicilians. So yeah, if it's, I mean, it looks like a bit awkward that this is always there, but actually e5 is always risky for white also. He really needs to make it work for it to be worthwhile. Otherwise, all your pieces start working perfectly. And here bishop b7, queen g3, d takes e. He can never take here, thanks to rook g8. And with the bishop on b7 and the rook on g8, he's losing. So yeah, you can hold him off with queen c7. The thing is, up to this point, you played all normal moves. I mean, you know that you can play b5 in this variation right now against bishop c4. So you shouldn't be in trouble just to be compelled to play e5, which is just too weakening. I mean, I'm glad that you really hated playing e5 here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're positionally lost after it. I mean, it's not even a contest. This bishop is huge. You get opposite color bishops. That's not going to help you right in the middle game. On the contrary, this bishop is going to be huge when he plays bishop g5 and bishop takes f6. That is, this bishop is going to be well, great, and this one is going to be condemned to purely defensive tasks. maybe if we get to exchange of all the heavy pieces, but that's unlikely to say the least. Yeah, this is already
Yeah, I know. I know.
positionally losing.
I know. I just couldn't think of a solution during the game other than e5. I really didn't want to play it, and I'm surprised I didn't think of just moving the queen to protect b7. But I haven't really seen that idea before in the Najdorf. So yeah, I don't know. It didn't. Afterwards, it made complete sense, and I'm surprised I missed it. But
It's not the most comfortable. I mean, it's hard to do. There are many positions where you have to defend against e5 indirectly. um, yeah, it's awkward. We always prefer to be able to play bishop b7, but yeah, in the solving it's a problem. The sacrifices on e6 are always annoying. And after this, well, you play the game, so you must have noticed this knight c6. I mean, you're clearly aiming for 94, but you need to get as much control of d5 as possible. So I guess knight bd7, awful as it is, might be a bit more tenacious. But your opponent played really well. I mean, I marked the bishops here because difference is just huge. Even if you get to trade the knights, that's probably going to help your opponent. Yeah, there are no favorable exchange of pieces here. If you trade the knight for the bishop, I mean, and you really like to trade this bishop, he just has this great knight versus awful bishop situation, typical of Sveshnikov going bad. So yeah, he has full control of d5 and of the lights, well, for no compensation at all. And yeah, it's funny how that bishop, the dark square bishop ends up hitting nowhere. He even gets to allow you to trade the knights, and just the position is still quite hopeless. Even if he doesn't play the best moves all the time, this is just suffering. And yeah, the opposite color bishops are not going to help you. Well, there are tactics here. You could play rook c6 and avoid losing material right away, but yeah, anyway, it's just an awkward position to play. He can mount up pressure on f7. He has this plan of breaking on the queen side and creating some weaknesses there, extra weaknesses. So yeah, it's probably losing from a positional point of view. And here, well, he got this combination in and won. But I find it interesting that in this game, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said something.
no.
Or I just had an echo. In this game, you were playing white and you got a favorable situation. This game, well, I found this game very instructive. So here we're going to take some more time. Knight b5, a6, while your opponent played the Lowenthal. You have just played this sits. I think it's the Kalashnikov. I think it's called Kalashnikov if he plays this sits. But he went for a6. Knight d6 check, bishop takes, queen takes, f6. I see that you're very well prepared in openings. So I think that's a feature of your game that that's probably your strongest suit. You really know what you're talking about when you play your openings. Well, the depth 48 on Stockfish. Let's shoot that. You played the right move here, Queen D1. Of course, you don't want to go for a face off of the minor pieces. I mean, you have the pair of bishops, but his development is just going to be overwhelming. He's going to play d5, and the knights are going to start harassing your bishop. Queen d1, just avoid exchanges, and he has to go knight g7, which is a bit of an inferior square for the knight. Knight c3. Well, this jump is already a bit questionable. I mean, he wants to play knight 94 and knight c6, but he forgets that this knight can be kicked out with c3, while your knight on d5 that is going to land there if he doesn't, if he goes knight c6, which is apparently the idea. Well, this knight on d5 is going to be unassailable, so not much sense in his maneuver. I think black has to play queen g6 and castle, and then try to play d6, bishop e6, and try to go d5 at some point, or even f5 to open up the f file and get some play there. This knight d4, well, doesn't make much sense. I mean, the knight is centralized, but it's going to be kicked out so soon that it doesn't make sense. Bishop d3. Well, this is, I guess this is the really bad move here. He just gives up control of d5. He needs to go d6, bishop e6 probably at some point. And he can castle first, probably. You're already a bit better, I think. I mean, he's not. I mean, he's kind of dependent on making threats and developing quicker than you can. That's typical when you give away the advantage of the pair of bishops. Well, too early in the opening, you have to get something out of it. I mean, or you get better development and you start creating threats, or you get a positional concession from your opponent. Otherwise, you just keep playing normal moves and developing, and well, you're going to get an uncomfortable position for sure. And that's what happens here. He plays knight c6, knight d5, queen d8, you castle, d6, all this is quite normal. c3, now we see that the knight on d4 well, didn't have a lot to do there. Knight e6. So how do you evaluate this? How do you feel with your position?
No, I'm very comfortable. I thought white was ahead the whole time. Yeah, I mean, I've had that position a number of times. Like as you mentioned, like I really love openings and I really study them a lot. And actually these days, because now that I have chess base 16, previously I would run Stockfish.
Oh.
I would run Stockfish to like depth 48, and I would make notes on every position. But in addition to that, now what I do is I open it up in chess base, and I first go through every game that's annotated, because I have the mega database. So I go through all the annotated games, and then I go and I sort it by the rating in reverse order, and I go through like the top games there to get ideas there. So, and then I combine all that together, and that's how I build my repertoire. So like the queen d1, yes. I knew that queen d1 was pretty much the best move, but there are other moves there. I think you can even go queen d3 is fine, and I think even queen d2. But yeah, the whole way through, I'm familiar with like this type of structure when black plays a Lowenthal and there's that really weak d5 square, which you said it was kind of thematic of today's lesson. So yeah, basically I thought white was definitely better here. Like maybe not insanely better, but I felt very comfortable. I thought black wasted a couple moves with with knight d5, and then brought his queen back. I thought it was kind of wasted at least one tempo there. So I was quite happy here. I have the bishop pair and potentially might want to consider breaking on f4. Um, and I think if black castles kingside here, it could be a little bit uncomfortable for him because white is ready to pounce now, I think.
Well, you're right that you have a big advantage, and it's huge actually. I mean, he has nothing to show for well, your two big favorable imbalances. One of them is that d5 is well under your control. He doesn't have that many resources to fight for it right now. You still have to make some very strange moves like 97 or 97, which I guess is not in his interest right now. And you have the pair of bishops. You might think that it's changing the dark square bishop is a good addition to black's position. It looks like that should be favorable for him. But the bishop on e7 is a very strange animal. I mean, you hate it when you have it, but you really miss it when it's not there because you need to defend the pawn on this seat somehow. And you have to defend against the seats. And it's very odd, but not having the dark square bishop endangers the d6 pawn, and black's position is generally weaker. It's I guess it's one of those bad bishops that protect good pawns that Suba used to talk about. Bishop on e7 is just necessary most of the time. At least he should try to get you to trade it for the knight on d5. That might be a good trade-off. But I find your next mistake really instructive because you played f4 here. What do you think the problem with f4 can be?
Yeah, it's funny because I just said it again when you asked me about the position. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll play f4. Um, well, I mean, I know that we've talked about this type of move in the past, and you hate that it opens up my king. For example, there's the queen b6 if he gets rid of my knight, and I guess by proxy it also makes e4 weak in a sense because if he takes the pawn, I'm gonna have an isolated central pawn there. E4 could potentially get weak. I knew that I knew that there's this angle on queen b6. Oh, someone in the chat Mr. Sabon in the chat just said, I think you said Alessandro will not like this when you played f4. Yeah, I think when I played the game, I said, okay, Alessandro's not gonna like it, but so yeah, but I thought I had control over it with the knight, and I thought I had the opportunity in this case. I thought, I can always tuck the king on h1, and I just thought my pieces they're fairly well developed that I could get away with this. That was my thinking. But I mean, yeah, perhaps bishop e3 first. I kind of wanted to just strike as fast as I could here because black hasn't even castled yet, and I thought I may be able to catch him. I don't know. That was my thinking, anyways. I don't know.
Well, that's interesting to hear. Actually, I don't like f4, but for different reasons. But first of all, I don't think your king is in any kind of danger, and it's quite normal in the Sicilian to go f4 and at some point king h1 if this diagonal g1 a7 is a problem, which doesn't seem to be such a big deal here. He has no pieces to to attack you with. But the problem I see with f4 is that you already have a big positional advantage. With f4, you're jeopardizing both your trumps in this position. The dark square bishop, which is one of them, and total control of the center, because with the knight on d5, you are the owner of one vital square, and black can't say the same. After you play f4, he can fight for e5, which is quite typical in Sicilian structure. Sometimes you just allow a knight on d5 and you play e5 yourself to then exchange on f4 and put a knight on e5. And it's quite an effective knight. It blocks e4 like forever. um, and as you said, the pawn on e4 also becomes weak in the long run, and it kind of compensates for the weakness of the pawn on d6. So normally, I mean, f4 is kind of leading to a typical Sicilian position or structure, um, but you could do much better than that because you already own a big advantage without giving him those positional assets. For example, I don't even know how to respond to bishop e3 because bishop e6 or knight b6 could become a problem very soon. Um, you really don't need to choose to play on the king side here. You can also start just launching your pawns forward on the queen side. Um, and I'm still wondering what is black going to do here, because normally, for example, this is the typical structure of the Sveshnikov. But on the Sveshnikov, you have the pair of bishops with black, and you try to go for breaks like f5, for example. Here, f5 would just destroy the light squares on in black's position. So if I have to think about an active plan for black, not to be choked to death on the queen side,
Castles?
I can't come up with something reasonable. Um, the problem with
Castles,
f4
and then
is,
queen
I
g4.
think, I think the biggest problem. You give him e5, um, you're kind which was also an advantage. He played okay. I mean, it takes f4 is the move. And now you have a tough decision to make because, of course, you don't want to get rid of a knight on d5. So you took with the bishop, and now he didn't play the best move. What do you think black should do right now?
I'm trying to remember. I mean, the first move that comes to mind is, knight takes f4. Knight e5 that you were talking about before could be a possible interesting move. Again, blockading our pawn, hitting our bishop on d3. And I don't think there's a clear way for me to...
Sorry,
can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hello? Can you hear me? Blah, blah, blah. Whoops. Okay, let's try to figure out this audio issue. It looks like I just cut out for him. Let me check. Testing 1, 2, 3. Kind of weird that it just cut out there. I'm talking.
Now I hear you again.
Oh, you can hear? Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
That's okay. What was the last thing you heard me say?
No, I didn't hear
At all?
your
Yeah,
thoughts on
yeah,
no.
yeah. Basically, at first I was looking at knight takes f4. That's the first thing you look at. But then because of what you said earlier, I'm thinking now knight e5 is interesting because I can't get rid of that knight without taking it right now, and then he gets to play de, which solves a lot of issues for him. Plus, he's hitting my bishop on d3, so knight e5 is interesting, which I didn't really consider in the game, but I was really just considering knight f4 when I played.
Yeah, well, actually, he played 95 here, but it was more accurate to take right now because he gets rid of your bishop and then he goes 95. Um, this is quite a typical Sicilian structure. I mean, he doesn't have to go 95 right away. He can even play bishop e6. And his idea actually is, if given time, he's going to take and play 95. And he's going to have a very nice knight against not such a great light square bishop. So yeah, black is totally fine now. This is a very typical way of fighting for the center in the Sicilian. You allow the knight on d5, but you take on f4, so you give e5 to the knight on c6, and then you try to trade off the light square bishop for the mighty knight, so that you get an unopposed beautiful knight on e5. That's black's main plan here. Apparently, he had to do it by changing your dark square bishop first. Otherwise, he might not get another chance to get rid of your bishop. And this bishop is powerful. I mean, it's hitting e5. Even though you can put a knight on e5 here, it's always subject to threats. I mean, you can put pressure on these seats, and the knight might be in trouble on e5 regardless. Or he could have, well, he had a nice, well, yes, sort of tactical refutation to 95. I'm sorry. You had a nice tactical refutation. I mean, 95 just gives you more options. I guess you could go bishop e3, which would be totally fine. And you still own the advantage. But there was something that seems to be stronger.
I'm trying to make queen a4 work, but
Oh, okay. Queen, I'm sorry, where? Queen a4.
Yeah, I'm trying to make that work, but no luck yet. Yeah, I don't know. There's
It's a bit unexpected. I mean, it uses the fact that he hasn't castled yet.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking, and then the other line I was looking at was bishop e5, de, then rook rook f7. trying to make that work, like rook f7, queen h5, and then we get the two nice pawns for the bishop. There's that, but okay, so let me just look at that further. So bishop e5, de, rook f7, queen h5. Let's say king g8. And I don't know, maybe then bishop c4. I don't know.
It's a bit speculative.
Yeah. I can't see anything.
Though you still have to, you still have to say yourself as black. But yeah, it doesn't look like it should work. But yeah, it's bishop takes e5. But after d takes e, you have a simpler move than sacrificing the rook. There's a double attack that works quite okay.
Oh, maybe I have the move order wrong. So then maybe queen h5 right away. And then he has to defend f7 and e5 at the same time, which I don't think he can.
He can still take, I guess, on f4.
No. I'm talking, I'm saying bishop e5, de, then queen h5. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that of course there's still technical difficulties, but it's a healthy pawn up for you. So yeah, that was probably the strongest. Though by playing knight e5, he lets the bishop leave, and it gives you so many options. The trade on e5, well, is advantageous thanks to that queen h5, but also keeping the bishop is quite strong. And again, we see this case where color bishops are not going to save black. And this knight is gigantic here on d5. White's pieces are more effective in the hole. So yeah, the real solution for him was chopping off the bishop on f4 and putting the knight on e5. I mean, that's the positionally well-founded way. This way, he'll just get rid of both your advantages. He gets rid of your bishop, of your extra bishop there, and he gets to fight for a central square, which he wasn't. I mean, he couldn't even dream of getting such a nice square for the knight on move 13. Here you're playing practically on your own. You have a very nice and clear plan of just pushing everything on the queen side, and you have all the positional advantages. And it's not even clear how he's going to proceed. I mean, he's tied down to the defense of d5. I mean, he has to try to question your knight on d5, and it's not easy. Also, he has this problem that he can't go for an opening of the position like you usually want to do in these setups, type of Sveshnikov positions with f5, for example, because you don't have dark square bishop with black to go for that. So it looks like black has to sit there passively waiting for your assault on the queen side. The biggest problem of f4 is that, well, objectively it gives the advantage away, but you also are giving him a lot of play, which he didn't have previously. I think that from a practical point of view, leaving aside the objective evaluation of f4, I think that's the biggest problem. He has a lot to play for now. Bishop takes, knight e5, and well, you played bishop c2 here, and now he's doing okay if he takes again, but he insisted. He just castled here. Again, here it was important to notice that your dark square bishop is powerful. It's a great piece. You still hold the advantage if you keep this bishop. I mean, you still have a clear plan of putting pressure on these seats, and he's probably going to miss that bishop on e7. And so by playing bishop e3 or bishop g3, you have to be better here. You still have to hold the advantage. So you play queen e2, and well, at all times, this is the typical Sicilian plan you should remember. Getting this knight on e5 against the knight on d5, and then go for bishop e6. And this could even be favorable for black from a positional point of view. He could get this beautiful knight against this, well, kind of useless bishop. I mean, if white doesn't have enough pieces to attack, then after taking on d5, you can maybe play g6, and this bishop is as good as dead. So yeah, this is something worth remembering. Because you can employ it with the black pieces too. I mean, the knight of it can easily occur, I guess, because of the structure. So black played bishop d7, a4. Yeah, he just goes for the wrong plan. I mean, the knight on c5 is actually not doing anything. It doesn't put pressure on nothing because everything is well controlled. You played b4, which is okay. Bishop g4, queen d2, knight e6. Well, you should still retain the bishop. That's pretty clear. You played a5, rook c8. He still doesn't go for the correct trade. Bishop b3. And well, now he just went off the road with this knight c4, bishop takes, rook takes, and you could have won practically straight away.
Yeah, I saw that after the game. I think I had 2 chances to do it too.
Yeah, because you went rook e1, and he played queen h4. Well, it's not the same now, but after bishop g3, yeah, I guess he should go something like queen h5 here. Oh, but you have h3. Yeah, he's in mortal danger anyway. Now I guess. Oh no,
I can't take the yeah. And then 93 again.
Take what? It cut off.
Yeah, knight. Yeah.
Oh, but takes, knight takes.
Then 93.
93
yeah.
doesn't. 93 and rook takes e4. He's defending g4. Barely, but he's defending. Still, I think you played well here. I mean, queen d3, and this is still overwhelming. Rook fc8, bishop takes d6, and once you get rid of that pawn, he must have some trouble with the invasion of your pieces. He played king h8, well, preventing 97. Well, here after some adventures, he went rook c6. And then you made your life really difficult with this e5. I made this similar type of mistake a lot of times because you want to support your bishop, but actually the bishop doesn't need to be supported. It's quite okay actually, but you're cutting off the bishop from the defense. Now it looks kind of pointless on d6, which is funny because a bishop on d6 shouldn't be pointless. It should be a very powerful piece, but it's not doing anything for time being. Well, he got counterplay kind of here because he has his knight e2. Well, then you round up the queen and the game went in a different direction.
Yeah.
But I think that the most instructive moment is when you play f4. It's a case of, let's say, gambling with your clear advantage, in the sense that there's nothing to win from f4. And the most instructive thing, I guess, is the fact that it looks like it's really well founded from a positional point of view, because you're opening up the position for your pieces, which are more active, etc., etc. But in this concrete position, you're just jeopardizing both your biggest advantages. Um, your opponent didn't have clear counterplay, and he has some big positional issues if you continue with your normal plan on the queen side, advancing the b and a pawns. Trump in your favor, like total domination of d5 and pair of bishops. Sometimes going for um, a close battle, it just ends up jeopardizing the advantage. I wanted to take a look at one more game of yours, with a variation that you might still encounter a lot. I mean, we saw many games where you play this. White plays bishop c4 without playing d4 right away. I mean, e4, c5, knight f3, d6, bishop c4, knight f6, d3, and this kind of structure. I mean, I'm sure you feel comfortable with this. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, I see this all the time too. It's very common at my level. Sometimes I mean, sometimes I mix up my move order according to my repertoire, but everything is good here. Like e6 is good, knight c6, a6, they're all fine. And eventually, usually they will all transpose, like e6, knight c6, a6, b5. Yeah, I mean, I get this position so often.
There's a trend that you play a6 and b5, but you don't play d5. Is that right?
Yeah.
You prefer that approach? Well, this game was very interesting in that aspect. You played e6, castles, bishop e7, all of this looks quite normal. D5 is to be considered. I mean, you
Yeah.
can take both with the knight and the pawn, and you're okay, but it's just a different approach. With your approach, you do have to be a bit careful that he doesn't just get to play d4 and just put all his pieces on reasonable squares. I mean, it's still playable. I mean, this e6 and d6 versus d4 and e4 is playable as long as you get quick counterplay on the queen side and then you get a break in the center. Otherwise, it can end up being just too dominating for white in the center, and you might be a bit cluttered. Your pieces might be a bit. You can face some spatial problems. I found it interesting that you were in a good position in this game, on many instances, to to turn things to very favorable Sicilian structure. It didn't happen in the end, but we're going to see how. I mean, this is quite typical, I guess. This can happen in any other game. Now you have to be careful. I mean, he managed to put his pieces on reasonable squares where he's going to be able to play d4, apparently. What do you think about d5 now, for example?
Yeah. I get this type of position so often, but it's still, I always have to think when I get to this type of position, because I've always had trouble with, these kind of central pawn. It doesn't even have to be central pawn, but when there's like multiple pawn like pushes, I've always found that very difficult to kind of calculate and assess. So D5. I think I'm okay with D5. I generally like to avoid it until I have to because it requires too much thinking. I know that often if we have like the b knight on c6, then or the queen on c7, because often what I like to do here before I play d5 right away, I'll play queen c7 with the idea of x-raying e5 so that it's easily defended, and we can just bring one of the like a knight to c6 or a knight the f knight to d7. So usually I will prepare d5 with queen c7.
Yeah, and you did that in the game.
Okay.
Yeah, and well, c7 is undisputably the best square for the queen. But the thing is, now in this situation, I don't like d5 that much. I think his pieces are quite well positioned to go for this. I mean, this bishop is definitely on the correct diagonal right now. Now the idea of playing h4, h5, and going for a kind of
Yeah.
King's Indian attack. It looks really good. I mean, and I don't see that you have such clear counterplay on the queen side. I mean, it's going to take time for you to open up the position there, I guess. And your position looks a bit crowded. And it's reasonable, and it might be playable, but
no, I hate this type of position. It's like
we're going to play d5. Oh,
hello.
it just got off.
I'm not saying.
Something?
I just said I hate this type of position. It almost feels like a French gone bad or something. I don't know. It's I think it's not a fun. This is terrible. Yeah, that's usually why I like to play queen c7, so that again e5. I'm prepared to stop that immediately, because I hate this type of structure. Like it's not fun to play, and it's like white has all the attacking possibilities.
And how do you deal with the King's Indian attack? You don't go.
I don't.
This structure.
I don't go into that. I never get a King's Indian attack. I don't think. The closest is when. The closest is when. Yeah, the closest is when I face a Grand Prix in the Sicilian as black, and then white castles kingside and plays f4, which I hate playing against. So I don't like playing against the closed Sicilian, but yeah, I don't play the I don't face it because I don't play g6. I play against d4, and I don't fianchetto my king. That's partly why. I hate facing pawn storms and the like.
So you play queen c7 here. I mean, it's definitely a possibility. Now he gets to play d4, so it's not so easy to break in the center anymore. But this is fine. I mean, it's perfectly playable. Though, of course, you have to be careful about not just getting into a passive situation. You still have to try and push your pawns on the queen side, I guess, and always be on the lookout for the opportunity to break in the center. It's not going to come easy, because after you play d5, you're always going to encounter e5. So you have to do it at the right time. After knight c6, you're already making a bit of a positional threat that your opponent didn't see. He just played rook e1, which is not good. And now both of you, for many moves, miss a nice opportunity here for black.
Okay, so first of all, I remember calculating, I think it was CD, and then basically putting the knight. So if it's CD, CD, and then knight b4, I looked at that, and then I saw bishop b1, and then I didn't know how to follow that up. So yeah, I was looking at CD, CD, knight b4, bishop b1. But I think after the game, I looked at this, and the computer, I think it still liked that idea, but It was, I'm trying to remember what it was. There was some other follow-up, I think.
Yeah, you're on the right path there.
Trying to remember what it was. CD, knight b4, bishop b1. And there, um, I wonder if it is as simple as just like rook a c8, because you know white's rook is not developed on a1, and we're threatening to play knight c7 there. So maybe I just control the c file. So maybe CD, knight b4, bishop b1, rook a c8.
Yeah, that's a point. And if white has to give up this bishop, he's in a positionally desperate situation. I might be exaggerating a bit, but not so much. I mean, if the light square bishop of black is unopposed here, white is going to have trouble defending e4. All the light squares are going to be a huge issue, and that's kind of what happened in the game. Well, after some mishaps here, because you played rook a c8, but you could have played c takes d right away. C takes d, and if c takes d, knight b4, bishop b1, and as you say, rook a c8. Jumping on c2, you're practically forcing him to take to get rid of this bishop. Then it's just an easy positional advantage for you. Queen e2, this might look like it's a possibility. But what happens after knight c2 if you play rook c1? Can white play rook c1?
I'm wondering if we have knight d4.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
Yes. Excellent.
I'm always looking for Zwischenzugs. Yeah.
So well, that's great for you. I mean, if you have to trade the light square bishop, something has gone horribly bad for white. So rook e1 wasn't that great. Well, another thing, if rook e1, c takes d, he's practically forced to take with the knight. And now you have a beautiful Sicilian structure. I mean, if you see the piece distribution for white, it's just a bad Sicilian for him. I mean, all your pieces are on the ideal squares, b7 and e7 for the bishops, the knights on f6 and c6, the queen on c7. You don't get that lot without breaking a sweat with black in the Sicilian. And white has that pawn on c3, which is characteristically not that great against the Sicilian. The knight on d2 is not the most active thing you've ever seen. Well, white's play has been pointless from a Sicilian point of view. So this transformation is a great result for you. I mean, this is not even an equal game anymore. I would take black any day, and I think black should be even objectively better. I mean, you still have a clear plan of putting pressure on the queen side. b4 is an option. Rook fc8, knight e5, knight c4, and white has nothing to show against that. So this might be a little bit better for black already. I mean, if on this structure, you have to remember that if you can get him to take with a piece, take back on d4 with a piece, then you just have an awesome Sicilian. a Sicilian that you're not going to get that very often against normal lines. But yeah, that was kind of dependent on this tactic, on the fact that this bishop on c2 is in danger, which happens very often in these situations where white goes bishop c2, b3, bishop c4, b3, c2, and then he pushes d4. So rook aca, rook c1, rook fd8, and now he plays queen e2. You get the opportunity again. How does that work?
I'm not sure if I'm remembering this correctly, but I think the queen might have liked trading the queen for the two rooks. So again, CD, let's say CD, CD, and knight b4 again, and then queen c1, and you know, trade the queen for the two rooks, and yeah, but I didn't, even if the computer likes that, I still felt uncomfortable. I mean, I still feel uncomfortable with that. I feel like it's not great. Even if it's objectively better. I just thought the rook, our lone, like our lone.
That should be overwhelming now. I mean, you have the rook on the first rank. He's going to have to interpose piece probably to avoid being checkmated.
You know, the funny thing is, in chess, I don't like the queen versus two rook, and it doesn't matter which side. I don't like it when I have the two rooks or I have the queen, and I know it depends on the position, but I've never liked that imbalance. I've always felt so awkward with that. So I often try to avoid that when possible. I don't know.
Well, here there are some very good things going for you. When you have the rooks, you want your king to be safe mainly. I mean, biggest advantage for the queen against the two rooks is that I mean, she kind of concentrates the same power than the two rooks, but only on one piece. When the side with the two rooks has a weak king, the queen drives him crazy. It's too hard to coordinate the two rooks and avoid being under big attack by the queen. But now your king is completely safe. I mean, there's nothing going on against black's king. Other than that, it seems like you're really crashing through here because I'm not really sure where this bishop on c2 should go, but let's say, if you go to b1, you just lose too much material. Queen takes c1, rook takes c1, rook takes c1 check, and then he takes, not right away because there's a knight on e2, but you can play knight f1 because the bishop on b1 is falling. So you have to play knight e1, which is a really suspicious move. And I guess you can still live with it, though after something like rook dca, it looks quite strange from white's perspective. I mean, he looks like he should be in real trouble. I guess this is the most respectable line for white, because he's still holding on to everything. He holds on to the pawn on e4, and he's not losing the bishop. But it's quite a problematic situation for white, I guess. All his pieces are in awkward situations. You can move the knight because you lose the bishop. On a3, for example, I guess you have knight c2 already. And he can never move the knight on e1. And if you trade the bishop, then all the better for black. I mean, the rooks really look powerful now. The threatened rook takes b2. You also threaten knight takes e4. So yeah, the pin on the first rank looks quite problematic for white. It kind of ties him down for many more moves to come. Well, if that's the case, then apparently you get to crash through with your pieces. The rook comes to c2, and yeah, it looks really dangerous for white. Sorry. Queen e2, well, allowed that just in time. You played h6. Well, the game continued in the normal way, though you still have c takes d. Well, always bearing in mind that this is always great for you, of course. In fact, this is even better now because he also has made some more irrelevant moves for Sicilian standards. Well, now you kind of start drifting a bit with this rook e8 because it's not that clear that the rook is better placed on e8 than it was on d8.
Yeah, I just he played queen e2. It's like, okay, I'll chase you.
The rook opposite
the
queen. That's oh, you kind of froze there for a bit.
Oh, and I just said yeah.
Okay, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
yeah.
Now I hear you. So, well, he played bishop f4. You still have c takes d, but you play queen b6, and now it starts to become dangerous. That's a problem with black's position. If you don't find your way, in the sense that you don't get to attack the queen side quickly, or you don't get to make a push in the center effectively, then you are going to encounter some problems with white's initiative in the center. What do you think white should play now?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, the last few moves I made, I know that they were a little wishy-washy, but I had half as much time as my opponent, and I didn't want to get into too much trouble, too much time trouble, so I was trying to just make a few moves to to not get too behind in the clock. But to answer your question, you're saying,
Yeah,
what can white play here? I'm wondering if even d5 now.
D5?
E5.
Oh, E5. Yeah. Yeah, that's correct. I mean, if the queen comes to E4, oh my. I don't know, something like d takes, for example. Yeah, there's no way of preventing this, apparently. If white should play queen e4 now, you can't play g6. You just lose the pawn on h6.
Yeah.
That's one additional problem of that weakening. Well, putting the knight on f8 might be the only possibility, but it's a bit sad. I mean, if you have to go knight f8, something has gone really wrong. And I'm not even certain you don't have some additional things with bishop takes h.
I know. That's what I was looking
anyway.
at. Yeah.
It really looks like.
I
wrong.
yeah, I generally know that in these positions, like if white can get e5 in, it just it poses so many problems. It's kind of the beginning of the end. Like I've just faced that because all my pieces are on the other side of the board, and yeah, white's kind of cutting them off, and then he can just come in. I've always had issues with that. So, is this what happened in the game?
No, he didn't play e5.
But he could have here.
In this situation, it's like it's like you never started on the queen side, and now he gets all the attack. And in a rush, because it didn't seem like he had anything going for him until now. It's e5 is a big blow. But he just he just played queen e3.
You're hoping for that cheapo there.
Very slowly, just building up. Now you took on d4. I mean, it's not the same anymore, but it's reasonable. I mean, you're not facing any troubles now. I mean, e5 now is not nearly as effective. After d takes, if he takes with the pawn, it's changed queens and you're happy. You have d5 for the knight, so that should be great.
I remember looking at this with the engine after, and I was surprised because I quite liked bishop f8. I thought it solved any attacking issues that white has against black. But I remember that the computer didn't really like it that much, bishop f8. But I thought it felt like a really good practical move because it just, again, I don't have to worry about any attacks. I'm just defending everything. That's too much, but
I like bishop f8 actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it has a clear idea, which in the end you didn't play, but it's kind of typical. You can go e5 now. If he takes, then you solve all your issues in the center. I mean, you're sharing the center with white. And if he doesn't take it, your pieces just break off. I mean, your pieces just break through. The center opens up. The queen is on e3, right opposite to the rook.
So e5, bishop. Let's say bishop bishop g3. Okay.
Well, then the pawn on d4.
Okay.
Apparently. I mean, as things are now, if he wants to play e5 in this position, then I guess he has to take, or else he's just.
Okay.
And then some, because you get e5 for the knight also. He kind of, I guess he was waiting for you to play e5 because he played bishop b3. It really doesn't prevent your idea of playing e5. Apparently, it was stronger to play knight b3, so that if you play e5, you can just white can just play bishop h2, and he doesn't have to resolve the tension in the center right away. But you're fine. Even there, you're completely fine. I mean, this is a typical Sicilian device to solve Black's problem. There's always this detail when you're going to play e5 in similar situations. On this occasion, white's knights are not prepared to go to d5. I mean, he has no hope of occupying d5, so that's a good indication that e5 might be a good move. This situation is quite typical for that. I mean, there's no way he's going to ever put a knight on d5. So it really comes into consideration. I mean, as a Sicilian player, that's something you should watch for. When his knights are not well coordinated to get to d5, or he can't get good enough control of d5, then e5 might be a good way to solve the problems. I know that you don't have that problem that often because you usually play e5 very early in the opening because you play the knight off. That's a problem I face because I played the Taimano, so my pawn is on e6 most of the time.
Yeah, but I played on e6 like when white plays bishop g5, I play e6. So
Okay,
yeah,
so you can get that.
yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. I get it a fair bit actually because of that.
Yeah, bishop g5 is quite mainstream, so yeah, everyone might play it. So yeah, that e5 really comes into consideration when white doesn't have enough control of d5, and this is a typical case. He played bishop b3, and you could play e5 right away. It doesn't matter because he doesn't get a real attack against f7, and this was a nice way of resolving the tension. And you should be completely fine here. I mean, pawn take. You can even play knight takes c5 here, putting pressure on e4, threatening to jump to d3. You're very comfortable. I mean, you have no real weaknesses. d5 doesn't count, and there's no way white is going to fight for that square. So yeah, this should be fine. You play knight a5, which is not bad, especially given what he played. He played e5. How about that? What do you feel about that e5?
I mean, it looks good to me. It seems like it was inevitable. I don't think I can really take advantage of it with DE. I mean, I don't know. It seems like the most natural move here for white.
Well, he probably should have gone back to c2. The problem of e5 is that, well, it weakens the light square. I know that might sound like too obvious an answer, and it's not really deep. But the thing is, you have a chance to take his light square away from him, and if that should happen, then if he's going to regret playing e5, because your bishop on b7 is going to be a monster, and an unopposed monster. um, well, basically, you're going to be in full control of all the light squares. Um, you get d5 for your pieces. I mean, when he plays e5, when white plays e5, he does it for a reason. He wants to grab space, push the knight away from f6, so as to complicate your defensive chances on the king side. But without the light square bishop, he can forget about an attack. I mean, he's not going to be able to to set up that battery on the b1 h8 h7 diagonal. And without an attack on the king, e5 can be a very positionally committing move for white. And the game really shows it because, well, you're just in time to take on b3, which you did. You're hitting the rook on c1, so he doesn't get to complicate matters with e takes f6. And after rook takes c8, you can take back. And if e takes f6, you again have this intermediate move, and you end up, well, in good shape, I guess. Yeah, you don't seem to win material after this. Yeah, it doesn't look like you end up winning any material, but this surely looks good for you. So white might consider that, I guess, because after queen takes b3, 95, this is just too comfortable. I mean, he's going to have to face this huge bishop on b7, and he has no means to do that. I mean, the pawn on e5 serves no purpose, and it can even be a bit overextended. I mean, white's position can be a bit overextended if that pawn doesn't play its role. I mean, all he got was pushing your knight to a better square, right in the middle of the center, and yeah, he has not even the faintest hope for an attack here. Played bishop g3, and well, now rook e8 is not a terrible move, but there's only one. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, yeah, I was under 2 minutes here. I was just, yeah, trying to make a move.
Blitzing out.
Yeah,
So,
well,
yeah, and it's quite.
I,
For the time you had, it's a reasonable move.
yeah, I seem to recall there possibly being issues like I thought in this game, potentially I should have taken on c1, but I can't remember why. After ED though, I guess there's now a square for his knight on e5.
Yeah, he can go to e5 if you take, but also the pawn on d4 is hanging, so I'm not sure how that works for him. I mean, if he takes with a piece on e5, he's going to have to live with the fact that d4 is going to be weak. I mean, and that's even if he doesn't just drop the pawn right away. Yeah, it's not like he has a huge attack. I mean, his chances of an attack are reduced dramatically when he exchanges the light square bishop, which is a typical Sicilian issue. If or you might have experienced that a lot. When white doesn't have his light square bishop, his attacking chances are, well, quite problematic most of the time. And here it's kind of a case. I mean, after this attacking, but he still has a hope to try to get something to show against this bishop of b7. He wants to go 94 and 96, of course. And well, that way he's probably going to get passed pawn on the d5, and the bishop on g3 is going to be of some use again. But you could prevent that with a very nice maneuver here. What do you think you should play?
I'm looking at bishop b4.
Four. Pinning the knight. But on a3, would you play against a3?
Yeah, I don't know. I would have been. I don't know. I was thinking of just taking on d2 and knight takes d2, and I don't know. Then maybe queen d4.
Well, if we compare the two bishops, that's not too bad. I mean, it's kind of the same situation we talked about. You still, I mean, they're opposite color bishops, but your bishop is way better than his. Yeah, I guess you only have to be careful with rook takes c8 and knight e4. I mean, with that idea, because he can now go to d6 and you don't have the bishop on f8 anymore. So that might be something to pay attention to.
I'm looking at knight b4 now.
Knight b4.
Yeah, threatening a fork.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah, it's gonna take a while to set up though. Still, yeah. Um, I don't know. That's all I really see right now. Wait.
looks good.
Oh, that doesn't quite work. No, I was going to say bishop c5 looks interesting, but it's kind of a hollow threat, I think.
Yeah, he has a true for
There's
defending.
there's also a5, pushing those pawns, making his queen go somewhere it might not want to.
A5,
Hmm.
the idea of A4. Yeah, that's true. Um, I like your idea of knight b4 because you have e4 under control, which is the main point here. You want to prevent knight e4 for as long as possible. Apparently, it's better to put it on e7 because on b4, if you don't get to play knight e3, for example, then you probably you have to go back to d5 or c6, and then the
Mm,
bishop isn't controlling e4 anymore. But now you get control of e4. I mean, he
mm.
can't play knight e4 because of rook takes e1 and bishop takes e4. And the knight goes to f5, where it's a monster.
Yeah, that's
It
how.
hits the poor bishop.
Yeah, yeah, that's a
It's
hard move to find.
Yeah, I mean, you need time to find
Mm,
this clearly. It's not an easy move to make. But your pieces are so
mm,
nicely coordinated now. I mean, after you play knight f5, you're going to be very happy. uh, he has to go bishop h2. I mean, he has to move the bishop again. That poor bishop. It's kind of sad. And against this, which might be a scare, it might be a scare. You have this nice way out. Rook takes, and now bishop d5.
mm.
So he doesn't even get to do that. So yeah, after rook e8, you had some practical problems because he can go 94, and now at least he has this 96 as a resource. Uh, it's funny that you could even play around that knight. I mean, you could have played something like this and try to play knight f5, even here, even right now, and you still have nice control of the light squares. But of course, with so little time on the clock, it's hard to go for something like that. You play knight b4.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, well,
So
this one,
yeah, I
yeah.
remember. I remember this. I think I do. Um, I think here because there was time trouble. I was just trying to be annoying with my knight. Just buy some time. Move it around because it's well defended by this rook. And if I remember correctly, though, yeah, I was just bouncing the knight around, just basically buying time because it's white has to spend time to deal with it. So I wasn't really
Sure.
making the objectively best moves here. I was trying to be annoying,
Yeah,
like a
and you're down
mosquito.
to one in and something, and yeah, you have to look for forks in mutual tantrum. It worked really fine because he played 92. Now you got to play 93, and this is too much to handle in time trouble, I guess. Um, yeah, he should have played 96, of course. At least he got counterplay here. I still take black any day, but but now he has real counterplay. I mean, this is not so sad anymore for what.
Oh yeah, yeah. The
uh,
my opponent in this game, he's in the chat right now. So yeah,
what?
he's watching this right now. My opponent in this game, he's
Yeah, I'm sorry. I only heard the last part. I'm sorry.
Oh, I said my opponent in this game. He's a regular viewer in my stream, and he's watching. He's watching right now. So um, this is a game.
Oh,
Yeah, this is a game that I played against him. Yeah.
yeah, and well, he was all set up to play this 96, but of course, you're both down to well less than 3 minutes, so it's real blitz now. So anything goes. Yeah, after 92, yeah, handling this time trouble. Well, That's not great. Sorry. Yeah, now they're getting knight takes h2. But, well, very interesting game in the sense that c takes d4 is a useful resource to remember. And then this e5 is a very instructive mistake. And it's a move that appears constantly, and it's not easy to evaluate in which situation it's good. But sometimes it's just too weakening. I mean, in this position, it ends up being, well, it opens your bishop on b7, and he gets his light square bishop traded, and he loses control of all the light squares on his position, which is, well, ultimately what caused him to lose the game, I guess, because it's so easier to penetrate with the pieces through the light squares if he doesn't get even a hint of counterplay, because, well, when you have to part with the light square bishop, usually e5 is not such a great idea. So, yeah, I put two more games here. One of them, well, the last one is, well, you probably remember this. It's just a case of you getting a very nice position out of the opening. Well, it was an easy, and you played very, very principled here. He took his time to develop. He made, I mean, he might have just mixed some different systems, and he ended up losing a lot of time because he played f3, e3, bishop d3, and he wanted to mix that with knight h3 and knight f2, which is a bit low. I mean,
I've never seen that before.
Yeah, it's just too much. If he's going to play it like this, he has to go knight h2. He doesn't get time to go knight h3, knight f2, I guess. And now you're totally fine. This is the principal way of taking this taking this up. I mean, this is a typical situation where you fight against the pair of bishops, but you have a very nice advantage in development. You have a very active position, so you can deal with the bishops. It takes, knight takes, bishop c2, rook c8. You're already winning here. I mean, he made some very awkward moves. He just took too much time in the opening, and you're winning. C takes d, bishop takes, queen d2. This is a very bad omen for him. This is a case. I mean, I wanted to show you this game because I saw that sometimes this happens to you. You get a very nice advantage in the opening.
Yeah.
And then it kind of drifts away.
Yeah.
I mean, even though I see that you're tactically much stronger sometimes. When it comes to converting the advantage, it just drifts away.
Yeah, I remember this game now. Because I remember I played really well up to here. Like I played like perfectly or something. Like I remember, and then I liked my play here, and I liked my ideas. This game I played a little bit different than I might have like 8 months ago. I was a little bit bolder than usual. I was just really constantly harassing him, and then I think I moved the bishop a few times later to try to get the square for my knight, and I was just pushing him around, but then yeah, I remember I somehow things just slipped through my fingers. Yeah, there's some maneuvering that goes on, and I'm still good for a little while, and then I make a series of moves, and it all just kind of falls through. I think I make a trade or something. Yeah, I remember this.
You're still better even after your next move, which is clearly not the strongest. I mean, you've played great up to this point, very principled. I mean, this is your typical Minso Indian, where white, well, he has made big concessions to get the bishop pair. and then some more because he went too far. I mean, he just took too much time to consolidate that. That variation with f3 and e3 is a bit slow, but it's playable if you don't keep pushing it. I mean, his knight h3 is already a bit too much. And then when you opened up the center, he went for this complete opening of the center and bishop c2. I mean, that has to be punished. That that was really crossing the line for him. And now he's suffering. He's clearly ailing here. But this is the time for the kill. I mean, this is the time to maybe think for a bit. I mean, even to give some thought to the position. Let's say, I mean, it depends on the time you have available. But here you have almost 9 minutes on your clock. I don't know how much time took. Well, you took almost 2 minutes to play queen takes d2, which looks fairly reasonable. But here the thing is, this is kind of an upgrade for him because he takes with the bishop, he gets rid of the queen without making an effort. Maybe you can make him pay a higher price for that. I mean, you want to trade the queens? Okay, you take on d8 and bring my rook to d8. So this might be helping him. You're winning anyway because your position is just so superior. But that kind of misses the point because, yeah.
Yeah, I think I might have had. Okay, so first of all, because I did spend 2 minutes on this, so I do like I was looking for some type of like winning or really strong move here, but I couldn't find it, and I think a bit of psychology was in play here when I traded queens because my opponent is 2150, so 60 points stronger than I was, and I'm black here. I think I kind of thought, okay, if I trade queens, like I'm okay with like I'm happy to just trade down, and even if it ends up a draw, I'm still going to get some points. And I think I maybe I let him off a little bit easy here.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet he was kind of relieved because if you play queen takes d2, you have to be very accurate to make him pay. You still have to find some strong moves. You're still better anyway, but yeah, it's an upgrade for him. I mean, he's totally lost. I mean, he's been destroyed. For example, if you just take the bishop out of b3, you're going to threaten knight b3. And it's funny that it's not so easy to stop. Apparently, bishop a4 is quite powerful because there's no real way to stop knight b3 or knight d3. If you go bishop to a2, you have knight d3. So that was completely that would destroy him. Bishop c4 was also strong.
I'm just thinking.
And after queen takes,
I'm just thinking of bishop a4, bishop a2.
Knight d3 check.
Yeah, then king f2. Oh, sorry. Okay, so king e2.
e2. Maybe bishop b5. That looks quite. Yeah.
Or I guess we don't want to take on c1. Probably not.
No, maybe we can increase the pressure there. I mean, the variation was bishop e2, bishop a4, bishop a2, knight e3, king e2, and now bishop b5, for example, looks quite terrifying.
Yeah. Nowhere to run for. Nowhere to hide.
Yeah, this is his best square. Yeah, so here you're still winning with
Yeah.
bishop a, bishop c4, or at least you have very superior position. I guess bishop a4 is better because bishop h2 doesn't work in b3. So bishop c4. Well, then he kind of escaped.
Yeah.
You're better here anyway, but
Well,
it really drifted away. But
yeah.
because now it's not so clearly won. Well, you even ended with a blunder here with this bishop d3 before. But yeah, the game had slipped a bit earlier. But yeah, I've seen some games where you get an advantage.
Yeah, I remember that blunder. That's an easy thing to miss. I think that because you wouldn't think that we'd be in trouble here, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, in some of your games, I saw that you got a very nice opening advantage. And then, yeah, you had some problems pushing it to the end. But in general, I saw that, well, tactically, you're more aware. Maybe you have to work a bit on your positional play. Well, now that you're going to get a lot better in your structures, because if you're using the function of looking for annotated games in your openings, that's going to change a lot of things. I mean, you're going to get to understand the ideas better, because it's much harder to build a repertoire and to study the typical positions just by looking at games and trying to make sense of them with the engine. I mean, the annotations are important, and they may give you more general guidelines to how to play certain structures. So I guess that's going to be the most well, rewarding line of work for you from now on.
Yeah, I think it's a helpful addition to also like because sometimes, oftentimes I will even yesterday I will be building my repertoire and there will be like 2 or 3 equal moves. So for example, I was building up something against the Jobava London the day before yesterday, and every move was fine on move 3, and yeah, so so then I started looking at the annotated games and seeing what other people played, and yeah, it's a nice addition to kind of help support my choices.
Yeah, and you get to understand the positions in a broader sense, because the annotations uh, many times make sense of, well, whole systems, and they explain positional features that appear a lot. Yeah, that's definitely going to be helpful.
Okay. Yeah. So your video stopped showing, but that's okay because we pretty much finished here. Sorry, let me just go here. Yeah. So
yeah, I feel like in my screen, I see that I'm frozen.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for looking over those games for me. Yeah. Before you go, I just want to wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Okay.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully in 2021, we can play, over the board tournaments again. That would be nice.
Oh yeah, you're always anxiously.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, you need to get your second I am Norm. So
that's going to be a thing.
Yeah.
That's going to be hard.
No, you did it with the first one, and you tied for first in that strong tournament online recently. So you can do it.
Yeah, I guess it's a matter of playing a lot of tournaments until I play a good one.
Yeah. You just eventually, right? You get 2 more, but and then you'll get some invites to tournaments, and maybe tournament directors pay your airfare and hotel. That'd be kind of nice.
Oh yeah, I've been wanting that all my life.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for that.
Do you get free entry as a FM?
depends on what tournament. I mean, if there are a lot of GMs, and I understand, forget about it. If you're one of the highest seeded players, then you get conditions.
Yeah, I guess being an FM is kind of interesting because depending on the tournament, you will either be like the strongest one there, you know, the big top dog, or you'll be the weakest, right? Yeah.
Exactly. For example, if you're looking for norms, of course, you have to pay for everything because, I mean, you're the one that's looking for the benefit of getting the chance to get the norm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it really varies from tournament to tournament, depending on who shows up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you again, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Have a very nice
you
end
too.
of the year.
Yeah. You too.
Bye.